Senator Britt, let me start with you. Let's talk a little bit about reconciliation, what you're hearing from your colleagues, and what are you hearing from your constituents in Alabama?
Look, Alabama is ready for results, and that's what they've gotten under President Trump. It's been promises made, promises kept, and this is just a continuation of that. I think it's exciting to see the progress that the president has already made on the border. You know, you had the president and you had Senate Republicans and Senate House members say, we're going to actually secure our border and we're going to keep Americans safe. You're going to see more of that in reconciliation. You're going to see us be able to invest in our defense industry in the way that we need to. When you look at 21st century threats that are coming, now is the time for us to modernize. When you look at energy, I mean, everyone in Alabama knows that energy affects everything. When you're talking about the economy and prices, being able to drive down everything from the gas pump to the grocery store and everything in between, unleashing American energy and creating dominance. I mean, President Trump has a vision, he has a plan, and he has a will to execute, and we're right there alongside him. And Alabamians are excited.
We're going to get to hear from this great group in just a second. I want to just tell you moments ago, the president delivered remarks at the National Republican Congressional Committee dinner where he did urge unity. And for Republicans to be successful, they better unite. Take a look.
It's so important that we pass the big, beautiful bill, because that's going to be, and I really think we're helped a lot by the tariff situation that's going on, which is a good situation, not a bad. It's great. It's going to be legendary. You watch, legendary in a positive way, I have to say. It's going to be legendary. But I really think it actually puts pressure on those few Republicans that just can't get there. You know what the alternative is? A Democrat bill or a chapter for the country. You know, we have the debt continuation. And they have to do this. They have to get there. And I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill.
All right, joining us now, Senators Mark Wayne Mullen, Katie Britt, John Kennedy, Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, Tim Scott, and Senator Ted Cruz. Again, thank you all for being here. But all of you are friends of the show, and I thank you for that. There are some people in your group in the Senate, they're not so TV friendly, not available, ever, never. Lindsey, let me go to you, because the Budget Committee, as chair, this reconciliation process really, you're the one that triggered this, which I think is very important. Otherwise, you'd have to get the approval of the Senate parliamentarian.
Well, so it's our belief that elected officials should make big decisions, not unelected bureaucrats. I like the parliamentarian, but it's not her decision to set the baseline, it's mine. When Democrats were in charge, they set the baseline. Under the Budget Control Act of 1974, you can spend all the money you want, you don't have to pay for it. But when you cut taxes after a period of time, that considers to be raising the deficit. We all know if you cut taxes, you get more money into the government. We all believe that. So by 53 of us got together and we changed the way the Washington works. From here on out, taxes will be treated as spending. They will be considered not to expire. They don't add to the debt. They add revenue to the government. I made that decision, and all these guys back me up.
The Trump tax cuts are scheduled to expire
in December. What does it mean? $1,900 per family. If you're in business, you're going to lose your deductions, expensing. Child tax credit goes down by 90. We're playing with real bullets here. I just say this. The debt ceiling, the debt extension, as President Trump called it, we got to pay the credit card bill that comes due. If we don't put it in this bill, and we have to get 10 Democrats in the Senate to extend the debt ceiling, the price they will want will be unbelievable. They will extort everybody here. They will extort President Trump. To the people watching tonight, we got a chance to make the tax cuts permanent, fully fund the border, help the military, get the debt ceiling extended without one Democratic vote, only if reconciliation works. 4 times in 100 years. If we screw this up, you should be really pissed. We can't afford to screw this up.
Senator Cotton, your take, and where do you think we are in the process?
Well, I think we've taken an important first step last week in the Senate by passing that budget and sending it to the House. You heard the president just a few moments ago talking about the need for unity. We obviously have some differences of opinion here on this or that issue, along with 50 or two other of my colleagues as well. But on this, we're all unified around the need to not just extend the 2017 tax cuts, but to improve them with some of the ideas that the president campaigned on, that we all campaigned on.
No tax tips,
exactly,
overtime, Social Security.
Secure our border. It's not just a security issue, it's also a quality of life issue in your communities, because illegal migrants put strain on schools and hospitals and other public services, making sure that we're safe abroad as well by funding our military and getting the price of energy down, whether it's what you pay for gas at the pump or your electricity. That's the goals that unite all of us. That's what we came together around last week with Lindsey and John Thune's leadership, and I think that's what Mike Johnson is going to have in the House later this week.
Senator Scott.
To me, this is the beginning of the blue-collar comeback. Imagine $7 trillion.
That's a great line. I wish I'd thought of that.
We can share it. We can share it. I mean, think about it, though. So many Americans feel invisible in the Biden economy. This is the Trump economy. Think about $7 trillion descending upon the greatest nation on God's green earth, creating high-paying, high manufacturing jobs. That means $100,000+ a year coming into communities across this country. The first time we did it, the TCJA, we saw more revenue to the Treasury, and we saw $4,000 per family in their pockets. It's the American people's dollars. Let them keep it. This blue-collar comeback, it's real, because President Trump is the man we need with a steel spine to get the job done. 70 countries? It's a good day in America.
Senator Cruz.
Look, failure is not an option. You look at the election in November, it is as clear a mandate as we've ever seen from the American people. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I am impressed with in both the Senate and House is I think Republicans understand we have a job to do. We can't screw this up. Now, what is that job? Number one, the mandate, secure the border. That is the single clearest mandate out of this election. 12 million people invaded this country, and the American people said enough is enough. And I got to say, by the way, my favorite line from the President's State of the Union address is when he pointed out, he said, you know, Joe Biden stood up here a year ago and said he couldn't secure the border without new legislation. Well, it turns out we didn't need new legislation. We just needed a new president. We've seen illegal border crossings drop 98%. That's delivering on results. But now it's our job to come and provide the funding to build the wall, to put in technology, to put in Border Patrol, to put in ICE, to make sure that we keep our families safe and secure. When it comes to energy, the American people are fed up with high energy costs. We want America to lead the world in energy. When it comes to rebuilding the military, you're right, it is a dangerous, dangerous world. And when it comes to the tax cuts, we're going to extend the tax cuts. It's going to be bumpy. It's always bumpy, and particularly with the House, which has an excruciatingly small majority. But we will get the job done, because the alternative, if we do nothing, is an automatic $4 trillion tax increase. We're not going to let that happen, because if we do, we'll be failing in our jobs. That is not acceptable. We'll get the job done, and the president won't let that happen.
If the House doesn't get it done, they're going to be hurting themselves again, because the sooner we get away from the Biden-Harris economy, the odds go up exponentially that they have a better chance of getting reelected. They're up in 2 years.
Well, and there are lots of trade-offs in it. Look, most of us have been part of the process of tax.
I got to take a break.
Yeah.
All right, well, more with our panel. We'll get to Senator Kennedy, Markwayne Mullin. We're just getting started. As Hannity continues, we're live from our nation's capital. Straight ahead. Thank you for being with us. All right, welcome back to Hannity. We're live from Capitol Hill, where we continue our town hall with Senate Republicans. By the way, a rare event. I want to thank all of you for doing this. A lot of senators won't. I appreciate your time. A lot of issues facing the country. And I really do believe that Americans are putting a lot of faith, hope, and trust in all of you that you can get President Trump's agenda that they voted for in the mandate that Senator Cruz was talking about across the finish line or crossing the plane. Senator Kennedy, you make my audience laugh more than anybody. As you examine this issue of reconciliation and the economy and $37 trillion in debt, and then DOJ finding, what, nearly $150 trillion, I think, at this point, dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse, how will all of you with the majority get this under control?
Well, look, reconciliation is not quantum physics. It's about lower prices. To lower prices, John, you've got to do three things. You've got to reduce government spending so you have less stimulus. You've got to deregulate the economy so the price of goods and services go down. And you have to design your tax code that looks like somebody designed it on purpose to stimulate growth.
Yeah.
Now, reconciliation allows us in the Senate to do all three of those things with 51 votes. And that's really all it is. I want to say a word, though, about tariffs, because that's sort of the fourth leg of this stool. I think most fair-minded people would agree with this. Other countries have used trade barriers to take advantage of the American people and American businesses. Number two, President Trump has said enough. We would not be in this situation today had he not been a pit bull. By that I mean there are 195 countries in the world, 70 are begging him to make a deal to lower tariffs. He's like the pit bull, though, who caught the car. Here's what I don't know what the president's going to do next. Here's what I hope he does next. I hope he takes a deal. I hope he goes to, he and Scott Bessent go to every one of those countries and reduce those tariffs and trade barriers down to zero and let American businesses compete with those foreign businesses. Competition makes us better.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, 70 countries, and the EU is now seemingly moving in his direction. I can just tell you, talking to 25 million people on 750 radio stations every day, when Americans hear that our friends and allies in Europe, I'll give a quick example, and I'll stay with you on this. Okay, Germany, they have a 10% tariff, we have a 2.5% tariff, but they also have a VAT tax, or value-added tax. That's a national sales tax. So that raises the sticker price of an American car to be sold in Germany by 30%. Yep. They sell 8 to 10 cars, German cars in America, to our one car sold in Germany. Why are they hurting us? They look to us for defense. They want us. They'll be screaming, "U.S., come to the rescue" at a moment's notice. We pay a bulk of the freight when it comes to NATO. Why would they treat a friendly nation like that? Why would other European nations be doing that to us?
Well, I think that's what the president has talked about.
But you agree we're being ripped off?
Yes. Look, China is probably the worst example, but not the only one. God created the world, but everything else is made in China. I mean, we know that. That just reflects reality today. But they're not the only one.
How about gumbo, John? Is gumbo made in China?
But they're not the only one. But because President Trump has done what he's done, and I'm not saying it hasn't been tough with the market, it has been. But we would not be in this situation able to negotiate lower tariffs and trade barriers if President Trump hadn't done what he has done. I just want him to see him turn Scott Bessent loose. He and Scott take them one at a time, and let's lower these tariffs and let American businesses compete with the world, and may the best product and the best price win, and we'll all be better off.
I would like to keep it less complicated, because sometimes there's a few other issues that have been conflated with it. But if it really comes down, Senator Mark Wayne Mullin, good to see you.
Yes.
If it comes down to a simple choice, most Americans agree that we're being ripped off. Most Americans don't like being ripped off, especially ripped off by our friends. But the president has said that if you want free and fair trade, we'll go along with that. If you want tariffs, okay, you tariff us, we'll put reciprocal tariffs on you. If we keep it and reduce it to that simple formula, I believe that's a winning issue. Am I wrong?
It is, but we also have access to the economy. You use Germany as an example, right? They can lower it to 0 tariffs, but they still charge 20% tax.
Well, that's got to be
30%
included.
tax.
That's a tax.
Right. It is a tax, but you have to take that into consideration. Japan does the same thing, right? Japan charges 0 tariffs, on a U.S. manufactured vehicle to go in, but you can't sell a vehicle in Japan.
But Japan puts 200% on rice imported from our country into their country.
Absolutely.
No one's selling any American rice there, and 94% of their cars are made in their country.
Right, which goes to the fact that President Trump has the backbone at this point to say, hey, it's time to right the ship. There has been no president that's been willing to address this, and we've known this has been an issue, Sean, for decades, and it's only got worse. What President Trump did is he's finally stepped up and said something that he started talking about back in 1988 on Oprah's show, saying that they were taking advantage of us. We have to stop the bleeding. If we didn't do it, then what generation was going to happen? Because this isn't about just today. What President Trump is doing is he's looking at the economy 10, 15, 20 years down the road, because that's what a business guy, not a politician, that's what a business guy does. A politician looks at what happens in the next election. President Trump is looking generational down the road, which is what we should be doing. But at the same time, let's talk about some of the lies that the Democrats are showing, right? The Democrats are saying that we're going to cut Social Security benefits. Do you know we can't do that through reconciliation? But they don't say that. They also say we're going to raise taxes on billionaires, or not raise taxes, but cut taxes on billionaires.
This is a Fox News alert. You mean Democrats lie?
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, when they call all of you Nazis and fascists,
Yes,
and
right.
Hitler and Mussolini, and
but the American people starting to believe it because they say it so much. When you cannot cut Social Security in reconciliation. At the same time, they're saying we're going to cut taxes for billionaires and millionaires and President Trump's friends, when all we're doing is extending the current tax code. The current tax policy that we have right now, we're simply extending it. And so the Democrats, they can't run on any of their policies, but they're running on lies.
Actually, you can add to that. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Guess what? I used to work in the service industry. I would have liked all that.
Yes, it absolutely. And it cuts taxes on the ones that need it the absolute most. But, you know, as I said before, Sean, the Democrats have nothing to run on policy-wise, so they're just running on fear and lies.
So I saw you shaking your head, Senator Scott, and I'm reading the room, and I'm getting consensus that now that we know these countries have taken note of what the president has laid out, you want these deals to be done expeditiously.
100%. Sooner than later. Yeah. Like I said, the $7 trillion that's on the table, that would be a fantastic blue-collar comeback. But more importantly, it resets America as the economically dominant nation on the planet for a generation. I think we need more than 2 years in the majority, however. We need 4 years in the majority to make sure we cement a generation of change. You don't do that in 2 years. You do that over 4 years. I think President Trump has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reset, recalibrate the entire global economy by bringing it all home to America. Put America first by putting our paychecks first, by securing this nation first, and the rest of the world, including our allies, will take advantage of us if we let them.
We let them do it for 50 or 60 years, Senator
since World War II.
To you, it seems that the magic sauce here would be speed. Now that they're willing to deal, get the deal done.
Well, and take the deal. We're at a fork in the road.
Take what deal?
Take the deal, make deals, and actually work to lower tariffs. Look, we're at a fork in the road, and it's a real...
Lower or reciprocal?
Lower tariffs on both sides. Reciprocal. I'm saying reciprocal, but here's the fork in the road. What do you do once you announce these tariffs last week? One option, and the option that I hope and pray the president takes, is you've got countries beating a path to the White House saying, Uncle, let us up. We'll slash our tariffs. We'll slash our barriers to trade in exchange for you doing it. If the outcome of these tariffs announced last week is in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we see tariffs slashed worldwide. We see the barriers to U.S. farmers and ranchers and manufacturers dropping enormously, and suddenly we're able to access other markets, and these tariffs drop here. That's a great outcome. President Trump has the opportunity for the most extraordinary economic win for the American people right now by making a deal, by saying, let's cut a deal. But on the other hand, and I do want to give a word of warning, there are voices in the administration that rather than take a deal are saying we want to have tariffs as a long-term permanent feature of the economy. I think that'd be a mistake. If a year from now, our trading partners have all jacked up tariffs on America and we have high tariffs on everyone, I think that'll hurt this country. And so What I'm urging the president is this opportunity to take the deal, lower tariffs all around. It's actually what President Trump proposed in Europe in his first term. You guys slash your tariffs, we'll slash ours, and we'll have free and fair trade for everyone. That would be historic.
Senator Cotton, though, if we got them to the point where it was free and fair or reciprocal, at that point, wouldn't America be taking in billions? And one other thing that nobody seems to talk about, I like the idea that our semiconductors will now be made in this country for national security reasons. I like the idea that more auto manufacturing centers will be built in this country. I like that our pharmaceuticals, too many of our pharmaceuticals are made abroad. God forbid COVID 2.0 comes along. Mark Wayne Mullin, Senator, he carries this ball everywhere. I'm not sure what this is. Like a blanket or what?
Yes, it's my pacifier.
So for national security reasons, I like it.
Yeah, well, first off, Sean, I think Americans would prevail because I trust American workers and businesses to compete and win against anyone in the world. But the point you're making, I think, is very important about the national security aspects of these tariffs, especially as it relates to China. You mentioned a couple things there. Basic pharmaceuticals like acetaminophen or ibuprofen, antibiotics, and semiconductors. We're way too dependent on China for those. We're also too dependent on Taiwan, which makes 60% of the world's semiconductors, 90% of the world's advanced
that company committed $100 billion just by the threat of
That's
tariffs.
what we want. We want to get redundant, resilient capacity here in the United States. So whatever might happen in a conflict in the Western Pacific with Taiwan, we know that we have semiconductors which are vital to the modern electronic digital economy. I think one of the best things President Trump has done in the tariff announcement is what he's done with China. Yes. Not just starting with 20%, adding 34%, threatening them that if they retaliated, he would do more, which they've done. He's moved it now to another 50%. And he's closed the de minimis loophole, which allowed companies like Temu and Shein to exploit American businesses, to ship goods here that are the cheap junk that John Kennedy was joking about earlier, without paying any tariff whatsoever. So I think that's part of the most important thing President Trump has done in these tariffs.
When we come back, is America on the precipice of a showdown with Iran? I want to talk about national security. And I definitely want Senator Kennedy's take on the new leadership of the Democratic Party, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, and Bernie. So you can get that thought process beginning, Senator. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We're live from our nation's capital as Hannity continues. And welcome back. We're broadcasting live. We are in our nation's capital, and we still have all these great senators with us. I really do appreciate all y'all spending some time. This is an important time for the American people. This is that 4 times in 100 years, and then we're going to have to get the House to go along with it. And if you pass it in the Senate, they pass it in the House. They're not agreeing to anything. They're just opening the door. You wanted to make that distinction.
Sometimes people get confused about a budget, right? Most misunderstandings between my wife and I is a misunderstanding, right? It's not an argument. It's just that we don't understand what people are trying to do.
No, you're wrong.
I'm with Christy.
Oh, no. But what I'm saying, okay, fair enough. My wife's always right. But with the House right now, I think there's a misunderstanding of what the budget actually does. The budget does nothing to instruct them. It's just the vehicle for us to move to reconciliation. If we don't get the budget passed, we can't get to reconciliation. And reconciliation is where all the cuts come in. That's where we take DOGE into consideration. That's when we start trying to balance the budget. That's where we can start making the tax cuts permanent.
I hope the House members are hearing you clearly, because that's important.
Now is the time to act. This is our moment. It is a moment in time, and we have got to seize it. The American people have said to us, like, we want results. And if we don't move forward with this, we don't even have an opportunity
if we can't get
for
reconciliation, we can't deliver what President Trump campaigned on and what we all campaigned on.
Let me move on a little bit. So we have this high-level meeting of some kind taking place with Iran. It's going to take place on Saturday. The president was very clear with Prime Minister Netanyahu that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, and if they try to, the price that they will pay will be severe. I interpret that very clearly, and I read today that B-52s that have, let's see, capabilities of being stealth, number 1, and bunker buster bombs, number 2, happen to be in the region. I don't think it's a coincidence. Just a guess, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the second visit since Donald Trump's gotten back in office. The question is, between Iran and China and the Russia-Ukraine conflict in Gaza, we got a lot of foreign policy issues. What about the Iran question? Because there are some people that I don't think you can negotiate with madmen. And I think the Iranian mullahs believe in, you know, the caliphate, which is convert or die. And I don't know how you negotiate with crazy people.
Absolutely. Look, and President Trump understands peace through strength. I mean, that's what we are seeing right now, and Iran knows that. And to your point, we can never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. We know that they will actually use it. It is not going to be for a deterrent. It will be for use.
Do we know what the breakout time is? Because the IAEA said very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Days, if not hours.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind,
What's that?
Days, if not hours. That's what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden flowed $100 billion to Iran and allowed them to get a breakout time that is unbelievably quick. And
So they're at 60% enrichment is what I've read. That's in the public domain. If they can get to 90% in no time, that's weapons grade? Lindsay?
If they have a missile to deliver it. But
They
look,
could,
if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, there's going to be a war. And Iran won't start it. And I'm not saying America will. Israel will.
Although,
They're
John, they
gonna-
don't need a
they're-
missile. They can put it in a boat and stick it right off the coast of
Israel will slap Iran to Pluto.
don't
And
they
I don't blame
need
them.
our help and support? Wouldn't they need our bunker busters? Wouldn't they need our
So
planes to
equipment.
deliver them?
They have to have our equipment. Absolutely, they do.
Tom probably knows more about this than most of us. He's the Intel chairman. But I think May 8th or 9th is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. If you had told somebody back then, in 2025, there'd be a nation state calling for the extinction of the Jews, they want a nuclear weapon, and people wonder, what should we do? So 80 years later, here's where we find ourselves. They have enough highly enriched uranium to make 6 bombs. And Katie said something all of us agree with. They will use it. If you're watching TV out there, Iran is very close to assembling 6 nuclear bombs. They will kill Israel. They'll come after us. They'll try to purify Islam. Donald Trump is the only thing between them and a bomb. They have to believe he will take down their refineries. They have to believe that he will blow them off the face of the planet,
out those
or they're going to get a bomb.
Senator Cotton.
Yeah, I don't know how the president could be any more clear. He said repeatedly since he took office.
But you're on the Intel committee. You know a lot more than I do.
Well, he said
chairman.
repeatedly that Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon. He's been saying it for 10 years. We've all been saying it for as long as we've been in public office. He wants to give them the path to a diplomatic deal like Libya had in
In the
2003.
public domain, the read is they are close. They are months.
They're very close, not just to getting to the enriched uranium they need, but a delivery system, and not just for Israel, but for the United States. They're
I
probably
don't
2 or
want to
3
start
years.
a war, but I don't trust these people. If they get it, I think they'll use it, and we'll have a modern-day Holocaust.
And
Does
Sean,
everyone agree with that?
There's only 2 or 3 years from
You
a missile
agree?
that could
Agree?
hit us.
What's that, Senator?
They're only
Cotton?
2 or 3 years probably from a missile that could hit the United States as well. So it's not just a threat to our friends in Israel, but to the United States itself.
I got 30 seconds. I got to give it to Senator Kennedy. What do you think of the new leadership, Jasmine, AOC, and Bernie?
I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party. She's entitled to her opinion. I'm entitled to mine. As I've said about her before, I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle. And our plan for dealing
You
with
didn't
her,
plan that out. We got to hurry.
our plan for dealing with her is called Operation Let Her Speak.
We'll come back. More Hannity. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. All right, Senator Kennedy, last word, quick.
If Vietnam, Mr. President, offers you 0 tariff barriers, pounce on it like a ninja.
Pounce on it like a ninja. Please set your DVR so you never ever miss an episode of Hannity. Thank you all. This is very, very nice of you to do this. DVR, let not your heart be troubled. Greg Gutfeld's next to put a smile on your face. From Washington, have a great night.